want to talk to you today about shallow fishing. It'll come as no surprise to people that have known me over the years. It's probably one of my all-time favourite methods. It's from springtime onwards. It's one of them methods, match fishing or pleasure fishing. It's unbeatable basically on its day. There's times where it's just where the fish want to live basically. You don't want to, you're not making them feed in the upper layers. That's where they want to be. So you just want to fish them in the upper layers. And like I say, it's an unbeatable method really, and it's one of them things. I love doing it, and it's such a quick way of building a weight as well. You can go from nothing to winning the match in no time. You only need like a little 2-hour spell catching shallow. You can put a real big weight together in no time whatsoever. It's a really enjoyable way of fishing as well. Nice and simple, nice and cheap. You don't need loads of bait. It's just a brilliant way of fishing, and one that I love to do. Today is like a perfect example of, like I say, about dobbing and shallow fishing. It's freezing cold at nights at the minute here. It's such a funny time of year at the minute. You're going down to -2 at night, then in the daytime you're looking at 15, 16 degree temperatures. The fish don't really know where they want to be, but like I say, it's just you can almost start off in winter mode, and then by the end of the session you're fishing like in summer mode. It can change so much through the course of a day. We've not started fishing yet, but I'd imagine it'll be a slow start. Might nick an odd fish, sort of dobbing, but like sort of shallow fishing. Might nick an odd fish doing that, and then gently feel your way into it. Start feeding a bit of bait, a few maggots, nothing major. Just feel your way in, and then just like, by the end of the day, it could be like a summer fish race sort of thing. It could be absolutely solid. The peg like we've got today, we've got nice reeds on the far bank. So you can search along the far bank, just dobbing around with, like I say, maggots, bread, corn skin, whatever you like really. I don't think it matters too much. Just feel your way into the session doing that. There's no need to go straight in feeding loads of bait, loads of maggots or pellets or whatever, because you can ruin your peg in no time. You're better off just feeling your way in, dobbing around. We've even got reeds in the edge, and you can catch in the edge dobbing. Like, that's just where they want to live. It's just they live at a certain depth this time of year. And that's where you just got to search for them basically. Hopefully find like little balls of them and catch what you can. Rig wise, you're talking, you want probably 3 or 4 different rigs for this time of year. The peg I'm on today, you've got possibly 3.5 foot. So you're looking at starting 6-8 inches off the deck with that. Just dobbing around, like I say, trying to find a little pod of fish against the reeds. That'd be your starting rig. And then from there, you want, I've got another 3 rigs after that. So it's 3 foot deep. I think I've got a rig about 2'6", a rig about just under 2 foot, and then one about 18 inch. You might catch, I think really you're looking at following the fish upwards as the day goes on. I'd probably bring in like the deepest shallow rig, if you like, after your initial dobbing. Get your deepest shallow rig, and then just find out where they are on the day. You might surprise you, and you might catch real shallow straight away, but I very much doubt it. Like I think as the water temperature warms up, that's when the fish come high. All the warm waters, well, the top of the water's warm first, so that's where the fish will they'll head upwards. As soon as the sun comes out, they'll head upwards, and then you just got to follow them up really and find out what depth is best. And that's where you need your various rigs. So I've got 4 rigs. That's enough really. You don't need millions of rigs, but you want a few different depths and just find out where they are, which is best. My dobbing rig for this time of year, it's still, well, I fish quite positive main lines, always have done. I'll fish like 018, 020 main line. That doesn't bother me one bit. It's your hook length what matters to me. Like the rig I've got on today for dobbing, it's actually an 020 main line, and I've got an 014 hook length. Don't want to go too light because there's some big fish in this lake. You don't want to be on like 012s, 010s, not this time of year. So I've got like 014 hook lengths, nice little size 16 hook, not too heavy a gauge either. that's my dobbing rig. In fact, all my rigs are on 020, so I don't mess about. I don't see the point of having fine main lines. And then they're all on, I think they've all got the same hook lengths, yeah, all like 014, 16 or an 18 hook. The shallow rigs, depending on what you're going to be putting on the hook, probably going to be fishing sort of double maggots today, maybe even single maggot. So I'd probably fish an 18, it's like 014 hook length, 18 hook. It's nice and positive, but not too heavy. You don't be going like too heavy yet, not this time of year. And I'll match that to the pink microbore elastic, which is a lovely soft elastic, but then you still got a little bit of power there. So there's some big fish in here. You don't want them running you ragged all over the place. That pink, it's just nice. It's nice and soft. Loads comes out as you first hook them, and you got a nice bit of power, obviously on a puller kit, as we all use nowadays. My shallow rigs, I'll go against the grain a bit really. I don't really use little bulks and that, especially for carp fishing. In fact, I never use little bulks for carp fishing, but even if there's F1s, I tend to have 2 or 3 shots strung out. And I use dibbers a lot of the time. In fact, I use dibbers for nearly all my shallow fishing, unless I was fishing really deep. Anything up to 3-4 foot deep, I just use a dibber. It's just something I've always done, and it might surprise a few people, but even on 3 and 4 foot deep rigs, I still like a nice little blob on the top of the water. To me, you just get a nice positive bite, and you don't get no interference off the wind with a dibber. It just sits there nicely, nice little dot on the water. When you get a bite, you know it's a proper bite. Yeah, I think that's rigs covered really. Like I say, all nice, few different depths and that, but yeah, all nice little dibbers really. Basically, to connect your rig to elastic, I still use the old Dacons. We started using them a few years ago now, and I've never had a problem. I know certain people they've changed a lot of their ways, and especially more for F1 fishing with the little beads, and so everything is really direct and like ultra sensitive, ultra direct sort of thing. I still personally, I like the Dacons. I've never had trouble with them. I do use quite a short Dacon. I don't want them to be too long, but that coincides really with the directness. But it's just, I've never had a problem with Dacons, and I can't see me changing to any other system. I used to use direct to elastic, the old crow's foot, that's going back a bit now, but for shallow fishing you can't really use that. You need a Dacon obviously if you start slapping it and that, but yeah, I'll stick with them for now. And I've tried the little bead system straight to the line, but I don't know, it's just what you're confident with really, and I've never had any trouble with that, and I'll stick with what I know basically. On to elastics now. Like I say, I use the pink microbore this time of year, then I'll step it up to the blue once it warms up and start catching bigger fish. But top kit lengths, might be a bit controversial now, and I'm still, I suppose, might sound a bit of a traditionalist or whatever you want to call it, but I still use a full length top kit. It's just some of these kits from Browning, you can actually use them as a short kit. You just put the puller there and then you got a nice short kit. But for me personally, I've never really used them. I've had little goes with them, and I know they're brilliant. Like, people would like to say I'm wrong, but it's just what I use, what I'm confident using, and it's what I've always used. And I suppose when you're so used to doing something, it is hard to change. And I know why they use them, and I know exactly the benefits of using short kits. But then also there's the other side of it, like especially the short length of elastic. On a lake like we're fishing today, you could hook a £2 F1 next chuck, you hook a £10 carp. And to me, with a short kit, I'd be a bit scared to death of like bottoming my elastic out. And it's only a personal thing, and that is fishing really. It's what you're confident in using, and I've never had any trouble with me full length kits, and for now I'll stick with them. Unless I was out and out F1 fishing week in, week out, which I don't really. But if I was, then I might switch over to short kits. But for now, I'll just stick with me long kits, and I'm happy using them, and each to their own really, and I'm happy with what I use. When you're shallow fishing, you want to be efficient with all styles of match fishing, not just shallow fishing. You want to be efficient, and you want your setup to be perfect. I try and set my tackle up the same every time, so I know where everything is. My rollers are pretty much in the same place every time. I've set them up like I don't tend to go dead flat. I'll have my back one a little bit higher than the front one. And then on that, it'll just roll into the pole sock. It can't disappear into the lake. It's all about efficiency. I'll have my landing net set up. I actually use a little bar there just to stop my landing net disappearing down my legs. So it's only it's a little touch, but for me it's massive really, because I know exactly where my landing net is every time. My rollers are in the same place. Everything, obviously bait tray and keep nets standard, and it's all about efficiency. Especially if you're catching lots of little fish, you just want to know where everything is. You don't want to be chasing your pole in the lake, chasing your landing net in between your legs, that type of thing. Even to where my bait boxes sit on my bait tray. If I'm fishing shallow, I'll have one sort of like just in front of the middle leg, and it's just so I know exactly where it is. I can reach down without looking, feel my catapult up. It's all about efficiency, and it comes with all styles of match fishing, but shallow fishing especially. Got to be as efficient and neatly organised, I suppose the word. Got to be as organised as possible. Even my top kits are all exactly where I want them. They're not in the way, they're not going in the lake. Just set up, take your time setting up in the morning, get everything where it needs to be, perfectly organised. Onto the pole itself, I obviously use the Browning Sphere PT Plus, and you do need a good pole really for shallow fishing. You want it as stiff and as strong as possible, and it's just lovely to fish with for shallow fishing, well, for all styles of fishing. And I actually use the square butts as well for shallow fishing. They're absolutely fantastic. You can just rest your elbow on them. You don't even know it's there. Like obviously normal round butt sections, they can dig in your elbow, and I've had a bit of trouble with my elbow in the past, tennis elbow and stuff. With the flat butt, the square butt sections, it just sits there nice and flat, and by the end of 5 hours, you don't even know you've held it. I'm fishing 13 metres today. Normally that's sort of standard, 13, maybe 14, and on a very rare occasion 16 metres. But normally it's 13 or 14 metres are the ideal lengths for shallow fishing. Yeah, hook bait wise, I suppose that depends on the time of year as well. Like this time of year, I say it's springtime, it's warming up now, I'd probably be fishing maggots to start with, just like straight hooking them. Like I say a nice size 18 hook, just straight hooking single or double maggot. As long as you don't get interfered with too many small fish, which I don't think you will because of the cold nights and that, it puts a lot of the small fish off. So you can get away with just nicely hooking, straight hooking maggots. You'd go on to, I suppose you start turning to your banded baits, your pellets if you like, when it warms up more and the fish get more and more tuned into pellets, and then it'll be more your banded like 4s and 6s on the hook then. But I think for this time of year, just play it safe with maggots on the hook. Casters, no, they're really for when it warms up as well. For me, it's out and out maggots this time of year. Then pellets it'll soon change to pellets. It'll be no time, like 2 or 3 weeks, we could all be slapping a pellet. It changes really quick this time of year, but for me, maggots this time of year. Feeding wise, it does vary a bit, but then again, it can be pretty monotonous. You have to you got to get into a routine of feeding. But then you just got to see how the fish are feeding some days. You have to mix it up a bit, especially with when you're fishing pellets for big carp. There's times when obviously slapping, we all do slapping, and sometimes you don't want to hardly feed anything. You can just feed 3 or 4 6mm pellets, say, turn your rig round, and just don't feed, and that just gets a bite out of nowhere sometimes. The only pellet is the one you're slapping. But on other days, especially for F1s, you're constantly feeding. You just got to see what you're fishing for really, and see how the fish are responding. Like today we're probably going to be fishing maggots, just going to be dinking a few in, maybe just laying the rig in, not so much like slap, because it's still cold. We'll probably just be laying the rig in a little bit deeper, just a few maggots at a time. But you just got to play it by ear really, see how the fish are feeding on the day. But you have got to get into a nice routine a lot of the time, and but then like mix it up through the day and see what works best on the day. I hope these tips are going to help you get out there, get out on the bank, catch loads of fish for you. They've helped me over the years. I suppose I've refined the way I fish over the years, shallow fishing. But if I can pass a few of my tips on to people, just keep it simple. I keep things as simple as I can. Feed right, have your tackle, no nonsense tackle, but obviously not too heavy. And just fish for fish, and hope you all enjoy yourselves and catch a load of fish. It's what it's about at the end of the day.